First, though, a trip to the creative lair of one of England's best-loved children's writers, Beatrix Potter, whose Tom Kitten, Jilly Cooper chose as her essential read for fledgling adults on the grounds that it was a perfect portrayal of social climbing. Here's illustrator Lydia Monks, whose latest collaboration with author Julia Donaldson, The Rhyming Rabbit, is just out.
The Lake District is known for its beauty and breathtaking landscapes, and it's inspired so many writers and artists, and Beatrix Potter, of course, being one of the most famous. She lived here for many years in this 17th century cottage nestled in the countryside in the village of Sorey, and a lot of her most famous stories were written here, set in the landscape and on the hills and in the farms. You can still see how she was so inspired by what she saw around her every day. Here I am in the old farmhouse kitchen at Hilltop, and this is where Beatrix Potter created some of her most famous characters. Tom Kitten played in the kitchen and then ran out into the garden to cause mischief, and Anna Maria had got her little rat hole in the corner. Samuel Whiskers ran up and down the stairs. It's all here. It's amazing to be back. I was here when I was 14 as an aspiring illustrator. She was my heroine, really. I wanted to be her. So it's amazing to be back all these years later, 100 years after those stories were written, and she's still probably one of the most famous children's books writers and illustrators that there is. So this is where Beatrix Potter did all her writing. This is her desk. And this is where she sat and wrote a lot of her stories, looking out on the view, and the view we can see in the tale of Samuel Whiskers. Peter Rabbit came from some letters she wrote to a little boy that was the son of her governess, and you can see here her imagination kind of running wild. They start off quite realistic bunny rabbits, and then he ends up with clothes on, walking around and getting into trouble in Mr. McGregor's garden. And she thought it would be a great idea for a storybook and approached many different publishers who all rejected her, but she persevered and then approached another publisher who agreed to publish them as long as she redrew the illustrations in full colour rather than black and white. And the rest is history. And here is one of Beatrix Potter's illustrations from Pigling Bland. As illustrators we call them roughs, and this is a colour rough. Obviously done in pen and ink and watercolour. Some of it is quite sketchy. The dog, which is one of her dogs. This is an unusual picture because she's included herself in it, which is quite rare, but she's not coloured in this version. And I think there's just such a charm about her work. I think that's why it's appealing. The animals are realistic, but of course they're not realistic because they're standing, walking around, having conversations, wearing their best clothes. And it's something that I do now, animals in clothes, you just can't resist, and she was doing it 100 years ago. Beatrix Potter started a new trend in children's books. She brought animals to life, she made them walk around, gave them little characters, and they were all inspired by what she saw around her in the landscape, which she loved. Her main ambition, though, was to become a farmer, and that's what the books enabled her to do. She owned 4,000 acres in the Lake District, 15 farms, and she became a sheep farmer and a conservationist. Her love of the land you can see in her books, and we're lucky to be able to share and enjoy that legacy that she left us.